Keir Starmer should fight back strongly against Donald Trump if he imposes punitive tariffs on British exports, senior UK and EU diplomats said on Saturday night, amid heightened fears that the US president could trigger a global trade war with devastating effects on the UK economy. British government officials in London and Washington are working frantically this weekend to try to persuade Trump not to slap duties on more key UK industries on what he is calling Liberation Day on Wednesday. The US president has already announced plans for 25% levies on imports of cars, steel, and aluminium to the US. Subscribe to our channel to be the first to be notified anytime we drop a new video. The clock ticks toward April 2nd, dubbed Liberation Day by Donald Trump, as the UK teeters on the brink of a trade war that could unravel decades of transatlantic economic ties. With the US poised to slap a 25% tariff on British cars, a sector worth £7.6 billion annually, Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces a defining test: how to protect national interests without igniting a global trade inferno. Trump's move, framed as a jobs-first policy, risks crippling Jaguar Land Rover and other UK manufacturers reliant on US markets. Starmer's team has walked a precarious line, balancing intensive negotiations with veiled threats of retaliation. All options are on the table, the PM declared, echoing EU and Canadian strategies. Yet insiders admit hopes of a pre-tariff carve-out have faded, with one source bluntly stating, tariffs look inevitable now. In a last-ditch bid to avoid escalation, UK officials are reportedly dangling the repeal of its digital services tax, a long-standing Trump grievance, as leverage for a trade deal. But critics warn this risks alienating tech giants while offering no guarantee of success. It's a high-risk poker game, says a former trade negotiator. Trump doesn't bluff, he raises the stakes. While Starmer resists immediate retaliation, voices from both sides of the aisle demand action. We can't let Trump bully us, argues Labour MP and Trade Committee Chair Dame Meg Hillier, citing the Office for Budget Responsibility's warning that a trade war could erase the UK's fiscal surplus. Meanwhile, Brexit hardliners urge a tit-for-tat response, though economists caution this could backfire. As the EU and Canada prepare retaliatory tariffs, the UK's stance risks isolating it from allies. Why should we go it alone? Asks a senior EU diplomat. Unity is our strength. Yet Starmer's team insists bilateral talks remain the priority, even as Trump hardens his stance. With hours until the tariff deadline, the PM's strategy hinges on a gamble. Can charm and pragmatism outmaneuver Trump's transactional brinkmanship? As one Downing Street source admits, we're negotiating with a man who views trade as a zero-sum game. The rules are his to rewrite. As Starmer navigates this economic tightrope, will he emerge as a statesman who salvaged British industry, or a leader who blinked in the face of Trump's tariff tantrums? The answer, like the fate of the UK's car sector, hangs precariously in the balance. One vital battleground now is over Washington's threat to impose blanket reciprocal 25% tariffs on all countries that impose VAT on US exports. These countries include the UK and EU nations. The US does not impose VAT on its imports. The Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, warned last week that a 20% increase in tariffs between the US and the rest of the world would cut UK growth by 1% and entirely eliminate the £9.9 billion of fiscal headroom that the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, restored in the public finances by a painful program of welfare and other cuts in her spring statement last week. Starmer appears to be waiting to judge how to react, based on the level of any tariffs imposed on the UK. He is said by government officials to be ready to act in the national interest if Trump does hit the UK hard. But his team also says that he will be pragmatic if need be, suggesting he may not retaliate immediately, in the hope of talking Trump round over time and with the aim of creating the conditions for signing a wider UK-US trade deal.